God, I could listen to that all day long. Alright, let's talk beer tech. So I've been a homebrewer for almost 10 years. Started with a small little extract kit, 5-gallon kit that I got from a homebrew shop. Brewed up my first Imperial Stout, exploded all over my kitchen ceiling at 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. To now, running a small little Nano Brewery out of my garage. Yep, 238 square feet. It's not that big, but I do a lot with the space. Built it all out with IoT devices, Raspberry Pis, sensors, voice control, you name it, it's in here. I've optimized this thing over years to really kind of make it my little baby. So I just wanted to kind of jump in and talk about beer tech. Over the last several years, I've kind of seen a huge uptick or an increase in tech in homebrewing. It really kind of lowers the barrier to entry, allows a lot of people like yourself to jump right in, get exposed to the craft, and really kind of make it your own. And really, I've seen like a huge increase in the quality of equipment. I definitely remember when I first got my homebrew kit, small little 5-gallon stainless steel pot and a glass carboy, to now a 2-barrel Unitank. So the quality has gone through the roof. Yeah, so I wanted to share the knowledge that I've accumulated over the last 10 years, the good and the bad. Review tools that I've used, tools that other people might be interested in checking out, tools that I've heard about, and provide you with my feedback, my thoughts, my insights, and then obviously, you know, if I've used it, I'll share whether or not I liked it. Yeah, and maybe talk a little bit about how I started a licensed Nano Brewery in my garage. We can talk about the brewing, the business, the marketing, the one-man shop that is Lost Bear Brews. So let's talk fermenters. I recently got this bad boy. It is a 2-barrel Unitank from Ss Brewtech. I wanted to really kind of dive in and talk a little bit about why I got it, what makes it really good for my space, and why it fits within my ecosystem. Really, ultimately, why it's awesome. Definitely want to tell you what I learned and talk a little bit more about Unitanks, the differences between fermenters, bright tanks, Unitanks, carboys, etc. But we'll focus this one specifically on Unitanks. I've had several different products from Ss Brewtech over the years. To kind of scale my operations, started with a small little 14-gallon fermenter, then added a 10-gallon bright tank, then got a 1-barrel Unitank, and now the 2-barrel Unitank. So they've all been put through their paces, dozens of batches of beer, lots of fun learnings and failures. Yeah, let me share some of the insights and how I got to here. So originally I got the 14-gallon fermenter to really kind of understand how big breweries use conical fermenters. And if you don't know what conical fermenters are, they are the big stainless steel vessels that you typically see in a big brewery. And ultimately what they do is it allows your beer to ferment and the yeast and the trub to drop down into a nice little funnel that you can extract off of the bottom nice and easy. It also allows for easier cleaning, because most of those are all CIP, which is also known as clean in place, meaning that you use a pump to drive some cleaning products up and spin through, and yeah, we'll do a whole thing on clean in place. Okay, so some of you are probably wondering what's a Unitank. All right, let me break it down. The traditional system method for brewing a batch of beer in a commercial brewery is mash, boil, lauter, chill, add oxygen in line into the fermenter, and pitch your yeast, wait a little while, harvest your yeast off of the bottom, transfer your beer into the bright tank, carbonate, and then package. So with the Unitank, you are combining both of those two vessels on the cold side, the fermenter and the bright tank, into one vessel that can handle the pressure of a bright tank. And for me, it was the best choice. For my brewery, it's small. I have to use things multi-purpose. Everything's got to be super efficient. So I didn't really have the room to have a separate bright tank for carbonating and brightening up my beer. So I went with the Unitank. Low on the footprint, allows me to do multiple things with one vessel, and it just fit for Lost Bear. Oh, one thing to note, the really cool thing about the Unitank is the fact that since you don't have to transfer your beer to another tank, you are really minimizing any kind of oxygen that is touching your beer. So, point. All right, so why did I get a 2-barrel if I've got a 1-barrel system? Well, first reason, double batches. My hot side, which we'll get into, allows me to mash and boil at the same time in 2 different vessels. So I can do a double batch very easy, adding maybe only an extra 2.5 hours to my brew day. So if I can do double batch in a day, that's fantastic. More volume of product in less labor time. The other reason is footprint. Just like the reason I got that 1-barrel Unitank was for the fact that it doesn't take up a ton of floor space. As you can see, it fits just fine. There's another 1-barrel back here and another 1-barrel right here. Yeah, speaking of space, it doesn't take up a ton of more horizontal space. It goes up way more than it does out. It's definitely not small, but it's not huge. I mean, if you think about my space is 238 square feet, it's not too bad. It's also shiny. The other really cool thing was the fact that it's jacketed, so no coil to clean when I'm cleaning out the tank. CIP up through the top. Sprays the whole inside, and I don't have any little bits and crevices that I have to experience with my 1-barrels. Although those are pretty easy to clean if you get PBW hot enough. This thing arrived and it was a total beast. On a pallet, just beautiful and shiny. Navigating this thing into the brewery was a bit of Tetris, to say the least. But when we got it into the spot, it looked gorgeous. I mean, the quality on this piece of kit is fantastic. SS makes some really, really rad stuff. And this is next level, especially since I came from the 14-gallon, the 10-gallon Bright Tank, even the 1-barrel Unitanks. I mean, those are great, but this thing is just a beast. Specific features that I friggin' love about this thing. It's got a amazing Zwickel sampling valve, an analog thermometer built onto the side, so if my digital version, which we'll get into, doesn't read it, I can always rely on a good analog thermometer. Yeah, it's got an 1.5 TC rack and cane with a din nut. It's got 1.5 lower dump. It's got a fully jacketed, as I mentioned, but the cool thing about the jacket is it allows you to do half batches. So if you're not doing a super aromatic, hoppy beer and you just want to do a simple stout or lager or something like that that doesn't require a ton of aroma, you can do a half batch, no problem. It's got a beastly carb stone. I'm talking like enormous carb stone. It also came with an RTD sensor. So if you operate with RTD sensors in your brewery, came with it, ready to go. I personally use 1-wire sensors with my Raspberry Pis and Craft Beer Pi, which we'll do a whole video around Craft Beer Pi because that thing is fantastic. Yeah, this thing came with all of the accessories that you would expect from an Ss Brewtech kit. Tri-clamps, thermometers, gaskets, butterfly valves, din fittings for a racking port, RTD sensors, a massive carb stone. I mean, it came fully loaded with all the accessories, plug and play pretty much. We'll get into the specifics with my personal setup and how I configured it to work with my brewery, because I'm not a huge professional brewery. I don't have the infrastructure that a big brewery does, but I've modified it in a way that it works with my brewery, and it is currently fermenting away like crazy. All right, now for my particular brewery. There was a few things that didn't come in the kit that worked really well for me, specifically for my brewery setup. So I needed to get a couple things. I needed a 1/2-inch PEX to NPT fittings. I needed to get some PEX pipe and some extra clamps. I needed to get my 3-inch CIP ball, making sure you have to clean this thing with CIP. It's just way easier than trying to clean it manually. Also needed to get a quick disconnect for the carb stone. It's kind of how I utilize all of my other systems in here. And then of course I needed to bring out my huge pump just to get the CIP going and getting everything all cleaned and brightened up for day one. All right, let's talk install. I have glycol coming from my original Ss Brewtech glycol chiller via one pump that's driven constantly, and it's run through a loop utilizing some 1/2-inch ball valves that are automated from Craft Beer Pie. And then it has a pressure relief valve on the other side that allows it to flow through the other side of the loop. So tying that into that was the first part of the project. So I wanted to make sure I had my 1/2-inch NPT to PEX adapters, screwed those things right into the tank using a little bit of Teflon tape, tapped those right into the PEX lines, crimped those off, and that was it. That was basically it. The only other thing I had to do was fill up the jacket with glycol to offset the volume of glycol that was in the actual reservoir from the glycol chiller. So I opened up the valve, let it fill up with glycol, poured in my mixture of 50-50 into the reservoir. So basically I've offset the volume of glycol, which is, in my hopes, is how I'll be able to utilize my original Ss Brewtech glycol chiller, at least for now, to run all 3 of these vessels. So I'm gonna be doing performance testings on my current setup with the glycol, running on 3 tanks here to see if I see any issues with it, if it's able to keep up. I do have a feeling it's gonna be hard to cold crash a lot of these, especially multiple at the same time. I'm pretty sure that's going to be impossible, but we'll see what I can come up with regard to the flow, and yeah, we'll see. Now it's time to get ready for the brew. So when I got this thing all set up with glycol, got all the individual parts washed, cleaned. I typically like to do a TSP wash, which is a nice little alkaline wash that gets off any kind of oils that might have been there from the factory, gets it, you know, nice and clean, and then I'll follow that up with an acid 5 clean, then a rinse, and then Sani clean. So the specifics for those are, the reason I use those are they're all CIP friendly. The acid 5 is great even at low temps. And yeah, following this, I'll just use my normal brew wash, which is PBW at between 150, 160 degrees, acid 5, then Sani clean, obviously rinses in between those. But yeah, we'll bring along for that ride. So after that, it was ready to go. Did a double batch of my Hazy Days IPA and threw it into the tank a day ago, and it is going off like crazy. It's super great. There's also gonna be some other stuff I'm gonna test out. I've yet to throw in a tilt hydrometer to this to see if my Raspberry Pi can read it from within the jacket. I have a feeling it can, but I'll definitely give that one a test. Hey, so I love talking about beer. Tech, recipe creation, business, marketing, the history, like and I have a really big passion for sharing that knowledge, which is what I'm hoping that this venue might be. I created this channel for you. I would love to know what you want to hear. Feel free to post in the comments below. I take it very seriously. I do my research. I want to make sure that I'm bringing a quality video to you every time I can. And really, like, I want to share all the trials and tribulations and the good and the bad that I've learned in the last 10 years, because it's been a ride. So please let me know in the comments below, right down there. Let me know what you want to hear. Let me know if you found this interesting, if you didn't find this interesting, if you've got more questions, if this works great for you, if you'd love a live brew day video, or if you'd like a live Q&A video. So post your comments in the below. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video, and feel free to hit that subscribe button to keep up to date when I post new videos. All right.